Good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful to see such a large crowd, in effect. Southern Oregon, here we go. So, first and foremost, I want to thank CO2 Company and everyone involved in putting this event on and asking me to speak here. I want to give a big up to anyone who voted for us, the Green Valley Wellness, getting Best of the Valley. Thanks so much. Peter Gross and I founded it in February of last year. We opened in June. It took quite some time to open. Incredible amount of bureaucracy and details to open a dispensary, and difficulties. Went to the very last wire for us, literally, I think to our last day of our 60 days to clear every hurdle. Security, safes, I mean, you name it, every kind of photo you could imagine from this angle and that angle, and what if an ant walks in and looks that way, and what does it look like? So, with that being said, I think first and foremost I'd like to talk about how you all can enter the system from wherever you're at into feeding into the dispensary system as providers. And that would first be getting some branding going. And you know, when product arrives to us, and batch testing, and I'll go over those two the most. And third, and very much right behind it, would be stay current with all the rules. They are changing rapid fire every day. You know, someone used an example over there at the table I was sitting at, kind of had an empty bottle and said, don't put all your eggs in this basket because dink, and he knocked over the bottle and it just falls over. So don't get caught in just one thing here. There's so much opportunity. This industry is burgeoning. It's just beginning. The train has arrived, as Medford City Council members have said in their very last meeting. So everything is changing, including the opinions of the city of Medford, realizing that in fact the freight train has arrived and there's not much that they can do, and that they are accepting the fact that they're probably going to have dispensaries in Medford as well, because with rec coming and people being able to grow 4 plants, they're going to be buying from their neighbor, and with untold number of chemicals or sprays, and then burgeoning the black market rather than supporting the recreational market that the state has all voted on, and it would create an incredible tax boom for this state. And ecotourism, Cannabiz is coming, you all. Look into that. Colorado, I think somewhere upwards of 21 buses a day leave from Texas into Colorado.
No way!
Just one state, they're surrounded by 4 or 5 states. It is, last year Denver Airport became the busiest airport in the country. All the ski resorts had their best ski season ever. Their craft brew industry had its best year ever. So the fact that marijuana, cannabis went legal, recreational, has absolutely spurred their economy to incredible amounts. There are projections that up to 30,000 people moved to Colorado after January 1st. They're calling them marijuana refugees. And over 20,000 jobs are created, 20,000 jobs. So get ready for what is now going from the green rush to now being called officially the green tsunami. So here it comes to Oregon, and I applaud you all for being here, for being involved, for being leaders of, you know, taking a risk and perfecting your skills, whether it be growing or extracting or edibles or whatever it may be. My recommendation for each and every one of you is follow your passion, go deep. If you're interested in genetics, go deep with genetics. If you're interested in the medical benefits and the terpene profiles and the uptake and the effect of the systems and whatever it is, just go deeper. This is the time of knowledge with the internet. Just do some research. It's all available out there. Network. I would encourage a few key websites if you guys want to write these down to stay current. So first of all, I think one of the best websites out there right now is called MMJ. It's another phrase you should know for medical marijuana, MMJ. MMJbusinessdaily.com. That's put on by an organization called MMJ Media Group, and they put on one of the best national conferences. In fact, they have one coming up in Chicago in April, I believe, and then they have their fall one in Las Vegas that Peter and I attended, and it was a week after 3 states went legal, and they had 1,500 seats sold out of their 4,000 capacity. On the day of the event, the whole thing was sold out, and there was no tickets to be had for more people that were showing up. The wolves of Wall Street were absolutely frothing there, and deals were going left and right. What are the terms of this? Who's owning it? It was just everywhere. It is absolutely exploding. The investment capital is out there. My message to you is be careful who you get in bed with, because it's far more than just money. There's ownership at stake, there's interest at stake, there's legal issues at stake. So I encourage you to get good legal counsel. Green Dollar Wellness and our holding company is working with the Emerge Law Group. I recommend them highly, they're fantastic. We also have a wonderful accountant who's specific to the industry. So reach out to these professionals. They are expensive, I'll be honest, but they're also going to save your ass, and they're going to help guide you in as the climate changes, and you pay for what you get, as with anything, and the information they're going to provide to you, the insights they have, the connections they have, the political contacts they have, the political action committees they're involved with, the legislators that they know firsthand and can call, on their speed dial. That is so important. I mean, when things are changing so fast, let's go dive right into it. Batch testing. I don't know if any of you know what it is. If you haven't been selling to dispensaries, and even if you have been, it's different. As of the 28th of last month, we as dispensaries got an email that said, lo and behold, things are moving along here, so now everything you receive has to be in a batch testing. And the concept there is, how do we know that the flower you brought us to show us that smells so wonderful, amazing, that Girl Scout cookie, that whatever it is, that Hindu Kush, how do we know that when you show up to sell it to us, or that what's in the bag actually matches the sample you're showing me? And how do I know that the test result that you have is actually that material right there? So in protecting the patients, they decided that there has to be a chain of custody. And so instead of us holding it in our limited safe size, which is still substantial, it couldn't possibly handle the amount of inventory that's going to be coming our way to hold it while it was being tested. That's what was done before. So in the meantime, what they did now is they allow all of the testing facilities for you to bring them. Currently, they're self-assigning a limit of 5 pounds, but one of them I just spoke to at the conference that Alex put on last weekend, and they are no longer putting a limit to them. Some of them are limiting to 5 pounds, but that would tie the sample they take into whatever size you want, and I'm encouraging people to be beneficial for the dispensaries to go into half-pound batches, because then we can buy it in half pounds. We're not stuck with a pound when the first half pound tends to sell pretty quickly. The rest of it sits in the shelf or in our safe, and now we've paid you, and it's sitting there, it's taking up valuable real estate. I would rather have half pounds, move it through, have new inventory, new flavors, and so forth. So I encourage you, for an extra $5, they put it in a sealed, tamper-proof evidence bag, right there on the spot, and then with a special tag that ties it to the sample. So now, you, as the provider, can show up to me, and this is now required at every dispensary, and I'm not saying they're all doing this yet, but we've all been informed that this is the rule, that it needs to come in a tamper-proof evidence bag that's batch sealed and connected. So I can answer more questions regarding that, because I've got some more things to get to here real quick. So stay connected. Get on email lists. The state has an email list for the Rules Committee. Google is your friend. Type in Oregon Medical Marijuana Program into Google. Even type in OMMP rules. You'll come right up on the first link, and go to that website, and on the very first page is a link. Then click on that, and it says join the email list. They already know you exist. You're on the OMMP paperwork. Don't be afraid of Big Brother here. This is where they automatically send you an email if any legislative action is in effect regarding Oregon Medical Marijuana Program, and particularly if rules are changing. So stay up, it's automatic, it's an auto feed to your email, so get on these lists. Also get on other email lists. We're going to be forming, there's a good chance that Peter and I are forming a Southern Oregon Cannabis Industry Association. We're working on that, so that we have one unified voice, not just growers, not just extractors, not just dispensaries, the whole area, the whole industry as an association. Therefore, when politicians have questions or city councils have questions, they can actually go to an industry association. We'll encourage, we'll take a list here and see whoever wants to join. We're encouraging everyone. It don't have to be large to be involved. We want everyone's voice, and this is an industry that's beginning and burgeoning. So let's have our voices heard. As I said, the train has arrived. Even Medford City Council said it last week. And talk to your representatives. Go directly to their offices. Call them. This is a democracy, folks. They are working on all of these rules right now. I mean right now, this weekend, tomorrow, Monday. They only have so long to pump out all the rules that are going to affect us for the whole future here moving forward. So call them, every single one of you. Call Buckley. Call Przanski. Tell them what you think, what you want, what you don't want. They will respond. It's been amazing. We've shut down a few absolutely absurd rules that came up since 91 had passed. And now there's a wrangling going on with probably 20 or 40 different bills, and being involved with law groups, with attorneys, with accountants, and so forth is going to help you find out what's happening and staying on these email lists. And then other opportunities. There's consulting out there. If you're really good at growing, people are going to be trying to grow their 4 plants in their backyard. Think about that, and offering growing services. Extracts are absolutely the future of what's happening. At the national conference last fall in Las Vegas, the 5 industry titans, including Dixie Elixirs and some of the biggest Colorado movers and shakers, were asked what the industry looks like in 5 years, and by far and away, all of them said minimum 50% or more of the industry will all be extracts, whether it be smokable, vapable, infusable, edible. Extracts are really where it's moving, so think about that, do your research on that. BHO is going to be an issue. Any of the tains are going to be an issue. Przanski himself just said that. So, think about solventless extracts, keef, bubble hash, any other number of CO2. Whatever it is, figure it out that you can create a niche, and that's where the direction is moving. Other ways that are innocuous, that don't look like you're smoking a reefer, that is going to be where people are moving. They want the medicinal effects, and they don't want to look like they're an outcast. And so tourism opportunities abound. Canada tourism is going to be massive here. Think of bud and breakfasts and so forth. Tours in the wine industry, farm tours, extract tours, you name it. If you have a specialty, think about it, brand it. And on a final note on branding, when I get people come in, if they're looking at one Shatter or one BHO or whatever, compared to say a new brand that just came out called Proper or others that are all boxed up and fancy, half the time they'll go there just thinking that it's more, that it's better, it's more professional. So show up with things that have your brand, build your brand. If you've got a good product, create a logo. Create your business entity, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, whatever you need to do. Get some feedback on that, and lastly, I guess that the state is looking like they're going to pretty much limit or stop most of the local taxes. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. I'm part of that group you were asking that is planning on suing the county, but at this point we are holding steady to see what the state releases in the next 2 to 4 weeks, because the word through those connections we have is that the state is going to make a fairly strong statement and close most of the loopholes for local taxes, because that's what we voted for on 91. So, on a final note, Peter and I, really aim to set the bar with our dispensary. If you haven't visited us, I'd encourage you to come take a look. We really try to, at every turn, every bend, every possibility, every choice, we try to set the highest bar possible for this profession and for this new burgeoning industry. Thanks so much for allowing me to speak today. About 10 minutes for Q&A, and Jane, I'm so sorry I wasn't there on Monday. I was up at the conference.
Go ahead, Jane.
You said that you got an email. Was that from the OHA? The change to the...
So that had to do with us being, as a dispensary, and that particularly was to the PRF. That's a phrase you should all write down. PRF, person responsible for the facility. That's the PRF. Also, dispensaries are referred to in the state level by MMF, Medical Marijuana Facility. So it was emails exclusively to PRFs, because it was from the OMMD, the dispensary program. So once you become a dispensary or you apply, you're given a person who is your liaison to their program. So our person is named Keith, and he sent us an email saying, hey, here are the new changes, and it came down the pipe. So I'd encourage you, if you're working with dispensaries, request from us to be on our email list to do updates if you want to be updated when things like that happen.
So you can no longer come into your dispensary with flour, it needs to come in already pre-batched.
Pre-batched, pre-bagged, pre-sealed, and in a tamper-proof evidence bag. Absolutely. You came in with the new cans. I think that will apply with the batching number to that. But even that technically should be in groups in a sealed bag, and you're sending 20 of those cans, potentially. So technically, they haven't had any enforcement on this one. They're inspecting us once a year, and when they do that, they kind of slap our hand and say, you're doing this wrong, you have 10 days to remedy it. Some places in the state had 30, 40, 50. We had, less than 10, and we'd only been open a few months. I would assume if we were visited now, we'd have less than that, less than a handful. And the point being that they give you time to correct them, but there's a lot of interpretation to this. It's like, what does that exactly mean? So they'll come, inspect us, tell us if we're doing it right, and we'll of course correct. But as it reads now, everything needs to be in a sealed batch bag. Go ahead, Nate.
Does that, what do you think, does that make it harder for you to assess the batch? Because somebody comes in and says, yeah, here's this little sample, but that sample will store differently than the batch.
It does, but I think as long, there's a lot of trust in this business and in this industry, and making sure that the sample matches that, and, try to get batch tests that are clear bags so we can see it, and, we can't cut it open and smell it anymore. So just be as honest and forthright as you can with us as dispensary owners, because it's a relationship you're building. I'm getting hit up by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of growers. So the ones that are most professional, that are most honest, that are most reputable, that are most consistent are the ones I'm going to work with. I don't need a headache, And so, you're doing a great job, but it's like keeping up on these is an absolute headache, but the cream will rise to the top. And if we stay up on it, the rest of it will get too difficult for people who don't, just entering and so forth, if they're not up for a challenge. This is not going to be easy, folks. We're going from 70 years of demonization and reefer madness into a light of day industry where half the people are literally still just terrified of this, and the other half are like gung-ho, and and there's a middle ground there where even the far-right Republicans now are coming our direction. I call it the great Aunt Sue factor. It's like your great Aunt Sue gets cancer, and suddenly she's on RSO and CBDs and having an amazing turn in quality of life, and possibly even improving to the point of remission, or maybe even epilepsy and seizures being healed. And it is changing lives. It crosses gender, it crosses political beliefs. This is happening. This medicine is clearly effective. The efficacy tests, the double-blind taste tests, and all of it is it's not just taste tests, but the double-blind efficacy tests are clear as daylight from other countries. We just don't have that information here. We look at Israel and the Netherlands and Uruguay and Paraguay now. They're full of incredible examples of the efficacy of this, and we have them here, but they're all